To begin with, first I will briefly discuss the components of the endocrine system. So the endocrine system includes all the glands in our body that make up hormone. The principal means by which this coordination occurs is through chemical messengers produced by the nervous systems and other produced by the endocrine system. This chemical messenger is responsible for allowing cells to communicate with each other to regulate body cells. And each gland is an organ consisting of epithelial cells that specializes in secretion. So secretion is responsible for controlling the release of chemicals from a. So for the functions of the endocrine system, we have here 10 functions. I will discuss it further later. So here are the 10 functions. The first one is for metabolism. The second one is for the control of body glucose and other nutrients. The third one is for the control of the reproductive system. The fourth one is for the control of food intake and digestion. Number 5 is iron regulation. The sixth one is for the immune system regulation. The seventh one is for the water balance. The eighth is for the heart rate and the blood pressure regulation. Ninth, uterine contraction and for the milk release. And the last one is for tissue development. So for the classes of messenger, we have 4. The first one is the autocrine. The autocrine, it stimulates cells that originally secreted it. It is acted upon by the WBCs during an infection. The second one is the paracrine. The paracrine, it acts locally on the nearby cells. Also, it is acted upon by the WBCs during an allergic reaction. Unlike the autocrine, which is during an infection, the paracrine is for allergic reaction. The third one is the neurotransmitter. It stimulates or it acts on adjacent cells. The last one is the endocrine, which is secreted into the bloodstream by other glands and cells. So for the hormone came from a Greek word hormone, which is to set into motion. So we have the chemical natures of hormone. In the chemical natures of hormone, we have 2, which is the lipid soluble and the water soluble. The lipid soluble are nonpolar molecules. It also includes the steroid hormone, thyroid hormone, and the acid derivative hormone. The second one is the water soluble, which is a polar molecule. It also includes the protein hormone, peptide hormone, and the amino acid peptide or the amino acid derivative hormone. So for the control of the hormone secretion, we have the stimulation and the inhibition of the hormone release. So in this one, we have 3. The first one is the humoral stimuli. It is the blood levels of chemicals. So in humoral, it contains of the body fluids including blood. So in here, it controls the secretion of chemicals in the blood, level of chemicals in the blood. The next one is the neural stimuli. From the word itself, neural, neurons. So obviously, they control inhibition of or stimulation of chemical secretion in the nervous system. The last one is the hormonal stimuli. The hormonal stimuli, of course, they stimulate or they inhibit or they control the release of chemicals in our hormone. So the next one is we have the regulation of the hormone levels in the blood. So the first one is the negative feedback. So negative feedback happens when blood concentration decreases, naturally more hormone is secreted. But in other words, if maximum set point is exceeded, the production of hormone is halted. The next one is the positive feedback. So positive feedback is acted upon by the tropic hormone. This tropic hormone can be found particularly at the anterior pituitary gland. So this hormone it stimulates the release of other hormones. So as said earlier, we have the chemical nature of hormone, which is the lipid-soluble and the water-soluble. So in the classes of receptors, the lipid-soluble hormone bind to the nuclear receptors, which is the interaction to cell DNA to regulate transcription. The water-soluble hormone bind to membrane-bound receptors. So this is where hormone receptors initiates a response inside the cell. We have the G protein, the CAMP, and the protein kinase. Under the pituitary gland, we have the hypothalamus. The hypothalamus is an important ANS and the endocrine control center of the brain. So they also control the pituitary glands by hormonal control and direct innervation. As part of the hypothalamus, we have the infundulum. The infundulum is the stalk that connects the pituitary gland from the hypothalamus. At the anterior part of our pituitary gland, it is composed of epithelial cells which is derived from embryonic oral cavity. At the posterior part of our pituitary gland, it is the extension of our brain which mainly composed of nerve cells. So for the hormonal control of the anterior pituitary gland, we have what we call the hypothalamic pituitary portal system. So in here, we have the capillary beds and veins that transport the releasing and inhibition of hormone. So at the anterior part of our pituitary gland, we have different stimulating hormones. The first one is the growth hormone. From the word itself, growth. So it affects our body growth by stimulating protein synthesis and increasing gene expression. Also by breakdown of lipids, release of fatty acids from cells, and increase of blood glucose levels that allows these growth hormones to occur. Also, in this hormone, we experience, or some people experience, abnormalities. We have the pituitary dwarf. Pituitary dwarf is the deficiency in growth hormone, though it is normally proportioned. The next one is the gigantism. The gigantism is the excess growth hormone, or the exaggerated bone growth occurs. So the acromegaly is the abnormally large features of our hands and our face. So the second one is the thyroid stimulating hormone. They are responsible for increasing the synthesis and secretion of thyroid hormone. The third one is the adrenocorticotropic hormone, which increases the secretion of glucocorticoid hormone and increases the skin pigmentation. The fourth one is the melanocyte stimulating hormone, which increases the production of melanin, or the melanin production in the melanin. So for number 5, we have luteinizing hormone, which promotes ovulation and progesterone production in ovary. So for the males, we have the interstitial cell hormone. So this promotes testosterone synthesis and support sperm cell production in testes. So for number 6, we have the follicle stimulating hormone. So it promotes the follicle maturation and estrogen secretion in ovary, and also it promotes sperm cell production in testes. The last one is the prolactin. Prolactin, it promotes development of breast during pregnancy, and also it stimulates milk production and prolongs progesterone secretion. And for the last one, it increases sensitivity to luteinizing hormone in males. So other hormones that are produced by the pituitary gland are the antidiuretic hormone and the oxytocin. Antidiuretic hormone is responsible for conserving water. It constricts blood vessels. Also, it is responsible, or it acts upon in syndrome of inappropriate EDH, or in diabetes insipidus. Diabetes insipidus is the large production of dilute urine. For oxytocin, we have swift birth. It increases uterine contraction and Also, it increases milk letdown. The next one is thyroid gland, which is located in the medial part of our clavicular. So, thyroid gland secretes calcitonin and thyroid hormone. So, calcitonin, it decreases bone breakdown, and also it prevents large increase in blood of calcium levels. In thyroid hormones, we have the increase in metabolic rates. Also, it is essential for normal process of growth. So the next one, we're going to discuss the parts of the thyroid gland which helps it to function. The first one is the thyroxine, or the tetraiodothyronine, which contains 4 iodine atoms. The triiodothyronine, it contains 3 iodine atoms. The isthmus is a narrow band that connects the 2 lobes of the thyroid gland. The thyroid follicles is where the thyroid hormones are synthesized and stored. So, in thyroid hormone, we also experience, or other people experience, abnormalities. We have here the goiter. The goiter is the excess of thyroid stimulating hormone. Also, it is those experiencing goiter have low in iodine diet. The next one is the hypothyroidism. The hypothyroidism, they lack of thyroid hormone. The cretinism is a congenital absence of thyroxine in infants. The next one is we have the myxedema. Myxedema is the accumulation of fluid and other molecules in subcutaneous tissue in adults. Next, we have the hyperthyroidism. So, unlike the hypothyroidism, hyperthyroidism is the elevated rate of thyroid hormone secretion. Hypothyroidism is lack of thyroid hormone, while hyperthyroidism is the elevated rate of thyroid hormone secretion. At the next one is the Graves' disease. Graves' disease is a type of hyperthyroidism that results when the immune system produces abnormal proteins. The last one is the exophthalmia. Exophthalmia results in the bulging of the eye. So the next one is the parathyroid gland, which is located at the thyroid gland. It is like a small circular lobe at your thyroid gland. So parathyroid gland secretes parathyroid hormone, which is responsible for increasing calcium levels in the blood, and it also increases rate of bone breakdown by osteoclast. It also increases vitamin D synthesis, which is essential for the maintenance of normal blood calcium levels. And in parathyroid gland, there are also abnormalities. The first one is the hyperparathyroidism. Hyperparathyroidism is also known as the hypercalcemia, which is the abnormal rate of the parathyroid hormone secretion. There are certain disease that is experienced in parathyroid gland. We have the tumor, muscle weakness, soft and easily deformed bones, prone to kidney and stone formation. The next one is the hypoparathyroidism, or